Hey, welcome back to Emlyn in the Mix, Season 3, Episode 4. We are finally away in 2022. What I mean by that is that 2022 is now cranking along and there's lots of cool stuff to talk about, and we're getting drops of new software, new hardware, new expansions, you name it. On Emlyn and Mix, we're going to be covering it. It's going to be a really exciting year, so I'm really happy and excited to share the news as it comes. Now, for those of you that don't know what this podcast is about, music technology, studio recording, music gear, music hardware, software, we talk about it on the Emlyn in the Mix podcast. And even though it has my name in the podcast Emlyn, it isn't necessarily about me. This podcast is designed for you to help you find the right music gear that's going to inspire you, and not necessarily to get you to want to, in fact, buy everything that we talk about on this podcast. I reiterate this so many times over and over, but it's more designed to help you cipher out the things that perhaps that you don't need, or that you can have a look at and admire, and then move on to something else that you do need or that you do want in your life that's going to help you, inspire you to make the best music creativity in your life. Wow, that was deep. Anyway, welcome back to the Emlyn in the Mix podcast for all my regular listeners as well. Don't forget there's a support link down below if you want to shout me a coffee. I would super appreciate that. We've got some really awesome little things for you. We've got a giveaway. That's the first thing we're going to talk about here, kicking off 2022 with a bang. And we've got a free plugin. Now, if you're listening to this podcast in the future, then I'm very sorry, because that free plugin and this giveaway will probably be finished depending on how far in the future you're listening to this podcast. But if you're here now with me right now at the start of 2022, January, then you're in luck. So let's kick it off with our first bit of exciting news. It is the Launchkey giveaway 2022. So make 2022 a year of full creativity. That's right. Get your podcast downloaded. Get the Emlyn in the Mix podcast just there. You've got it. That is your first key to inspiration and winning in your life. And then head over to Novation Music and check out this Launchkey giveaway. You could win a Launchkey. What is a Launchkey? Launchkey is a beautiful MIDI controller from Novation. I used to have, back in the day, I had the Novation, I can't remember, SL25. It was a 25 key. They make quality MIDI controllers. Let me just tell you, they make quality MIDI controllers. And I'm sure that these Launchkeys, MK3, they're up to Mark III now, are no exception. If what I had back in 2000, and I think we're going back to 2005 here, guys. I think we're going way back. That Launchkey I had from, I think it was called a Launchkey too. Fantastic piece of hardware. It had little LCD. Can you believe 2005? Yeah, it is a while ago now. 2005, it had the LCD screens, and it showed you the numbers depending on what parameters you were using, the values, and wow, it very, very good feedback, very visually very good. Anyway, you can expand your musical creativity and seek inspiration this year. To help you get started, we're giving away, this is from Novation, we're giving away 2 lucky winners a Launchkey MK3 of their choice, designed to give you everything you need to create and play your music. Launchkey scales and chords, modes, and powerful arpeggiator give you inspirational tools to expand your musical vocabulary, making it a powerful centerpiece of any music making setup. All you have to do is enter this form on the novationmusic.com website. Check it out. It's the Launchkey giveaway. You may have already heard about this, but if you hadn't, you heard it here first on Emlyn and Mix. It's open to all people around the world. I checked the terms and conditions. I'm pretty sure there might be a few places where it isn't, but it's pretty much 99% of the world is covered in this giveaway. So check that out. Just have to enter your details. Anyone could win, 2 people. And I really hope that someone, an Emlyn in the Mix listener, wins this. That would make my day. All right, let's move along to the next piece of news here. This comes to us from Softube, our friends, no stranger to the podcast. And Softube have just announced and released a brand new plugin, which looks pretty cool. It's a bit more of a watered down version of their harmonics plugin. I don't know if you've heard of that one before. I have covered it on the YouTube channel before, but the harmonizer plugin, I think it's called, it is an amazing plugin. This looks like a watered down version because it has the drive, it has the dirt. It's got a stereo mode though, and it has obviously your output there as well. No wet dry on here, but again, it is a watered down plugin. But it sounds amazing, of course, being Softube, and it is free. This is the free plugin I was talking about. Now, again, if you're listening to this after January 31st, 2022, then sadly, this is no longer free. There is an introductory price, but please, if you're listening to this podcast before that, go out now, go to Softube, download your Dirty Tape plugin. What is Dirty Tape? It is a tape dirt machine effect with Softube quality sound. You can add warm, low fidelity vibes to any sample, instrument, or beat. And from the makers of tape echoes, harmonics, and saturation knob, of course, Softube. So check it out. It is the Dirty Tape Special Edition. It is free right now up until the 31st of January, 2022. Now, from the Swedish distortion masters and makers of the acclaimed tape echoes, harmonics, and saturation knob plugins comes Dirty Tape. The tape effect you need when you want to get down and dirty and keep the quality savage. Dirty Tape gives you warm analog vibes from the moment you load it on a track. Capable of fiercely gritty distortion and saturation, Dirty Tape can also add subtle textures and movement to a sound. Like a photo filter for your tracks, think of, I don't know, Instagram. Dirty Tape will take your form, static, and dull to lively and colorful in a snap. Now there's a little video here showing off the VU meters. Is it a little video? Yeah, let's have a look at this. Dirty Tape. I'm breaking necks and I'm wilding out. Reckless energy, I'm never signing out. Alright, you can hear that warm fuzz on this track. Instant lo-fi modulation and distortion. You'd hear the sort of music you could potentially make with this. Here we go. We got some dries, bass. Let's have a listen. Bass riff dry. All right, so listen with this is with it on. Here's the wet version. Oh yeah, fuzzy. Nice. A bit more decay as well. All right, let's listen to a rolling bass. Here's our rolling bass dry. Like rolling bass. All right, let's see rolling bass wet. Oh yeah, that's quite... That's good, actually. It's a good sounding bass amp right there. Drums, let's listen to drums actually. Drums is a good example. So we got drums, bad jack, rhythm going here, dry, and pretty generic. Let's listen with it wet. Let's see what it does. Okay. Well, it's probably, that is wet. It depends on the style you're making. The thing I love about using distortion on drums, it just glues the sound together. But that is obviously over. For me, that would be an oversaturation. But if that is a style that you make and you like, then it definitely hits the nail on the head. Like, it really does give you what you need. You just have two knobs to do the job with two knobs to regulate all the effects it produces. Dirty Tape makes it simple to add lo-fi vintage vibes to your mix. The dirt and drive controls based on the dirt and drive section of Softube tape echoes are precision tuned to dial in the ideal amount of the intended effects. From retro distortion, saturation, and degradation to tape speed, variation like pitch modulation, crosstalk and stereo imbalance to flutter, dropouts, and wow. Dirty Tape delivers it all with ease. That's right, I don't know why I'm talking like that. That's just because I want to talk like that. Calibrate a custom vibe, set the stereo mode to normal, or use it decoupled dual mono to have a greater effect on the balance of your stereo image. Adjust the low cut filter to reduce the low end rumble, increase the lo-fi vibes. Dirty Tapes parameters let you transform the character of a sound to your taste for nuanced to it in your face and every rendition in between. Okay, I think we get the idea. It is free though, right? Now, complimentary from Softube. Shout outs, kudos to Softube for doing that. Doing a free plugin. Love a bit of a freebie. Again, it is only for the next couple of days in my world, in my dates right now, in the past for you guys. Hopefully you get it. All right, let's move on to the next piece of news. This one comes to us from Produce R&B. Produce R&B. This plugin, to some of y'all, might come off as a little bit of a gimmick. And sure, I could understand that. We all have LFO modulators. We all have modulators, least to say. But this is a bit... I had to put it in the podcast because it's a little bit different. It is a modulating... I would call it a modulating beast. You think of a beast... This is the modulating beast. Okay, so transform loops and samples into wavy, vibey textures. You know what this is, this plugin? This plugin is a bunch of things working together in harmony. And in some ways it works. I'm going to show you an example in a sec how it does work. What the hell is it, Emlyn? What the hell, Emlyn in the mix, are you talking about? Okay, so this is called Wave from Produce R&B. Not familiar with Produce R&B. They are strangers to this podcast. Maybe no longer strangers, but now they're here. And we're going to talk about Produce R&B because this plugin caught my eye and I wanted to talk about it. So quickly transform any audio. Wave turns your input audio into a wave. Quickly flip your loops and samples into something totally different and unique with one plugin. You can add instant movement and interest, shape your audio to move with the beat with over 8 modulations. Wave brings movement and life to your audio. And suite of multi-effects including lo-fi with all of the right processes and effects drench your samples to create endless possibilities on board EQ, lo-fi effects, sample rate, saturation, and more. And a fun and easy way to flip your samples into wavy, vibey textures. So yeah, it is basically, it's this sort of modulator that's working either in sync or out of sync, but it's got low pass and high pass going. It's also got, as we said, your multi effects, and you got EQ on board as well. Let's just have a listen to this demo. This is a 1-minute demo, but I want you to have a listen. You get the vibe of this sample they use, and then they have it on. Yes, it might seem a bit gimmicky, but again, just keep in mind there are people that do make these genres, and let's respect all genres of music on this podcast because I try and cover the full spectrum of music. I do not exclude anyone. If we want to talk about death metal on this podcast, we will. If we want to talk about Gabba trance, is that a style? Yeah, Gabba techno. We will talk about that. We are not excluding any genres, okay? And at first when I heard this, I thought it was gimmicky, but I could actually see this plugin's working pretty damn hard. Have a listen to this demo. Here we go. We're going to play it back here. All right, here's before Wave. I really like this loop. Wait for the beat. All right, here's after. Here we go. You ready? Ooh. Wavy. Wow. Wait for the beat though. Ready? Very nice. All right, I think you get the idea of what Wave is doing. So Wave is more or less just working very hard in the background, modulating your low pass and your high pass filters and really warping that sound and really living up to its name, actually creating a pretty wavy sort of sound. Some people might find that over the top, but again, there are genres which utilize that sound and which would really benefit. And as you could hear, especially from a company name like Produce R&B, hear a hip hop track like like that is fire to most. I want to rap all over that. Instantly flip loops and samples into new soundscapes, easily achieve lo-fi, ovo, underwater effects, and much, much more. Take things even further with over 8 modulations, adding wavy movements to your track. See, there's 8 modulations happening at once. Like, that's pretty cool. Mush and warp, they're very good adjectives for this particular plugin. Mush and warp audio in logical ways that make sense and sound amazing. So you can quickly create dope musical beds. Wave helps to turn your ordinary loops and samples into something nostalgic, interesting, and compelling to listen to. Breathe new life into any sample with Wave. And all-in-one multi-effects transformer, everything in one plugin from filters to effects to modulation. Wave's simple interface lets you quickly dial something cool. If you want to get technical, Wave lets you go under the hood and tinker with every single detail and drive creativity. Wave is a creative monster. Use Wave to help you start new waves. Come with something unique and interesting for your next release. Okay. Start new waves, as in, your new wave of your career. Anyway, you can have a quick look. If you're looking here on the YouTube channel, of course, we do the podcast multi-platform, podcasting and YouTube. So drench your audio with the 8 premium effects. The Wave multi-effects has sample rate, saturation phase, wave shaping, chorus delay, reverb, EQ, filter, modulations, compression, gate, and more. And you can use the simple interface or dive under the hood and create something unique. So you can see, if you're looking at here on YouTube, you can see diving under the hood with each individual parameter able to be adjusted, or you got the nice graphical user interface here. It looks pretty nice, and it is not an expensive plugin. It's got an introductory launch sale of only $29. Might be worth checking out if that is something that you are interested in, you want to do. I know that a lot of your DAWs will already include modulators and include effects and that, and you could probably most definitely create or emulate the sound that this thing does, but I don't think there's really anything out there that has it all happening at once. And that's why I found this very interesting. Like, it's doing it all at once. It's actually working pretty hard. I wonder if it's CPU intensive. That's the only thing I do not know about. But check it out, Wave. Nonetheless, it is Wave from Produce R&B. Now, this next one's pretty interesting. It might be boring. It's a little bit technical, but it is actually pretty... not necessarily necessary, but this would make life very convenient. And it is Blue Cat Audio's connector. What is Blue Cat's connector, you ask? Well, Blue Cat's connector is an audio and MIDI streaming plugin that can be used to transmit audio, get this, audio and MIDI signals in real time between several computers or applications. So you can create your own routings with a single application with minimal latency. That is freaking cool. So you could be recording MIDI in Logic, let's say, and transmitting that MIDI into FL Studio, for example. Or you could be recording audio in Logic and transmitting that audio in real time in sync into Ableton Live. This is cool. I know there's other programs and apps out there that allow you to transmit audio and MIDI. I don't know about MIDI, but audio, definitely audio around. And this just seems very cool. So have you ever dreamt to overcome the limitations of your favorite DAW and draw virtual audio and MIDI cables between any places that accept plugins? Actually, you know what this reminds me of? And this will be a reminder or a nostalgic feature to those who are early Reason adopters, propeller heads Reason. If you remember back in the day, we had a program, I think it was called Rewire, and what that allowed you to do was transmit pretty much what this is doing, but only from the propeller heads Reason actual application. You could transmit the MIDI and audio out of Reason and into your favorite DAW. And this is pretty much what this is saying it does, but you can do it from anywhere. So it's not just limited to one particular application. So have you ever been frustrated not to be able to create feedback loops with plugins? No, but that's a very cool concept. I'm just speaking my truth here. I'm speaking my mind. What about connecting multiple applications together on different computers? I've actually never, I'm going to be real with you guys right now, I've never thought about doing this. It just has not. Whenever I'm in a DAW, like if I'm in my program, I'm in my program. I'm not moving out of it. I'm not shuffling out. Sometimes I feel like working in, Logic, for example. Sometimes I feel like working in Ableton, or I want to work in Reason or whatever, But once I'm in the DAW, I don't want to move out of the DAW. So for me, moving into multiple applications to create a song just to me seems like it adds complexity. But they're saying here, what about, connecting different computers? This is starting to get a bit mind-blowing. Like if you had a studio and you had multiple computers, I guess you wanted to transmit audio to another. That's cool over, I guess, a network. Anyway, the wait is over. Blue Cat's connector lets you do all of this and more. It can stream audio and MIDI data in real time between any locations that accept plugins. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. One or several applications on one or several machines connected to a network, of course. And with precious buffering control, you can achieve the lowest possible latencies down to 0 samples when used in a single application. Its built-in resampling and drift compensation algorithms let you create seamless connections between locations with different sample rates and unsynchronized master clocks. It just works. All right, we're taking their word here off the website. And some of the main features are universal connection, plugin available in VST, VST3, AAX, or audio unit format. Create your own audio MIDI routings inside your DAW, feedback loops allowed, and create connections between any audio software on multiple computers. That there is incredible. Minimal latency with full control over buffering, supports multiple sample rates on a single connection, built-in resampling, built-in drift compensation, send and receive back MIDI audio with a single instance. Blue Cat's connector. Check that out if that's something that interests you. If you like the idea, and this is pretty getting, again, very technological here on Emlyn in the mix right now with this particular one, but I feel like there would be a niche for this. I feel like there would be people that want to be able to do this, and I also feel like there's people that are dying to do this because they probably have a multi-machine setup, or they like using multiple applications and want to have everything synchronized. Go check it out on the Blue Cat Audio's website. It's a cheap plugin, $39. I mean, if that's what you need, that's going to do it for you. And again, see, I told you on Emlyn Mix, we show you only the newest, latest, best things that are happening in music technology. But haven't I done that already for you guys? Like, we're not even finished the podcast yet. We've still got some really cool news to get to. And I've shown you a giveaway that I hope you win. I've shown you a free plugin. And now we're looking at very technologically advanced plugins, software here. We cover it all. All right, I'm going to blow my own trumpet on that because that just blows my mind at how much stuff we cover here. Next one comes to us from Teenage Engineering. And this is for you OPZ users or people who are interested in what's happening in the world of teenage engineering, because they're a little bit of a heavy hitter when it comes to music technology. And if you don't know who Teenage Engineering is, I actually have this here. This is something I prepared earlier. Not really. This is the OP1. It's a miniature synthesizer and sequencer. It has drum samples and all sorts of stuff on there. You may have heard of it or seen it online before. It's very popular. I absolutely love the sounds on this thing. That's why I got it, more for the sounds, not so much the recording. It's a little bit tricky to record, and you can only record in audio, so you can't really record MIDI or anything like that, which is, I'm more old school, like the more old school approach of creating music. Anyway, Teenage Engineering has a product called the OPZ, which is sort of like, it's not the updated version of the OP1. It's more aimed at video creation and just a very creative piece of hardware. And now this may interest you if you are someone who's been looking at the OPZ. Actually, it's down there if you can see. If you're looking on YouTube here, the OPZ, it looks like this sort of gray, has these different knobs and buttons. It does have a keyboard though for making music with. Anyway, a new module has now been announced for the OPZ. And this is coming from the Teenage Engineering website. Our work with OPZ is ongoing, and here's a little behind the scenes dev update. As you know, the OPZ functionality can be expanded with hardware modules, and in the past they released the OpLab and Rumble modules, and finally they are officially revealing the new module in the pipeline. It is called the module and will be It's called just the module, is it? Line module, sorry. And will be accompanied with the OPZ firmware update. Now, what does the line module do? Well, we're looking at this 3D rotating image here if you're looking on YouTube. And it basically gives you I/O expansion. So you got line in, line out, in, out. You can feed audio into your OPZ, but you can also flick it out on the other end. And this is cool because the OPZ allows you to sort of remix and jumble up. And anyway, here, look what it does. The line module is designed to bring external audio signals in and out of your OPZ, adds the stereo line input and an additional stereo line output to the unit, as well as input and output for MIDI, trig, and PO sync. Similar to OpLab, use line in to add external audio signals to your mix and use the line out as a second stereo output available within OPZ. So you can now route individual tracks to module output instead of to the main mix to separate and process the individual tracks, or make effects loops with your favorite effects pedals. Depending on your needs, you can easily switch between mono and stereo signals. The output can also be used for headphone queuing of your tracks, and before bringing them out to the main mix with this, you can turn your OPZ into a live performance dream machine. So if this is something you've been waiting for, or you've been eyeing off the OPZ, this now makes it a little bit more sweeter. And actually, this next thing we're going to talk about here, this is another sort of expansion, new thing coming to an existing brand. We're talking about the Roland Fantom right now. Roland Fantom is Roland's workhorse workstation synthesizer. It's their big daddy-o workstation synthesizer. And they've just dropped the Zyme model expansion. What is the Zyme model expansion? Well, look, you might be thinking, why are we talking about a Roland Fantom expansion right now? I don't have a Roland Fantom. Well, look, maybe this will change your mind. This, to me, in my opinion, this synthesizer, if you like Japanese sounding synths, if you know what I mean, the Japanese sounds, like there is a particular sound that Japanese synthesizers have, like your Korgs, your Casios, your Rolands. I can't believe I'm putting Casio in it, but Casio makes some pretty decent synthesizers these days, believe it or not. Anyway, and I love Japanese synthesizers. I love the sounds they create, especially Roland. I mean, Roland are the flagship. They are, when it comes to synthesis, they're up there with Korg. You know, Korg and Roland probably the two biggest names when it comes to synthesis. And the Fantom being their flagship, their big daddy-o synthesizer. This may change your minds hearing this expansion, what it can do. This is really cool. So what is Zyme? What is the Zyme model expansion? So Zyme is a thoroughly modern instrument. So the expansion allows you to basically update or get new sounds into your Roland Fantom. Even though Roland Fantom is this particular iteration is a relatively new synthesizer, they're releasing these expansions and expanding upon what this synthesizer can actually do. So it is a modern instrument with all new synth engine from Roland, combining wavetable oscillator layers, phase and shape modulation, resonant filters, and 2 insanely powerful step LFOs. Zyme is a highly interactive music tool that sparks endless creative exploration with Fantom. There's a little video there. We're not going to play that back, but we are going to play back some audio samples so you can hear how amazing this synthesizer sounds. So wavetable-based synths are famous for their distinctive sound, but many can be difficult to program, and Fantom's high-res touchscreen and physical controls change all that, making Zyme a fun, tactile instrument that inspires you to make music into uncharted sonic territories. So let's just I'm just going to shut up. You want to have a listen to how crazy this thing sounds? Wow, just have a listen. There's a lot going on here, but just keep in mind there's basically a lot of modulation going in this synthesis and multiple layers. So have a listen to this geometric wave. Yeah, so you can hear there's a lot going on in the background there, and that's all the modulation happening at once. Probably a bit of aftertouch going as well from the person playing the keys here. You can sort of hear it getting pressed in and out. That's aftertouch. So we'll listen to one more. This next one's pulsar keys. Gives you an idea of the sound that this can do. You've got shimmering decay. It's really nice. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this is their flagship synthesizer. You can tell it's a beautiful sounding synth. Let's do one more. I'm really enjoying this. I haven't heard this one yet. Let's have a listen. Dial. You can hear it working away. Yeah, it's sort of growling and going through like a bunch of sounds at once as it moves through. Anyway, that is the Enzyme expansion. That is coming to us from Roland, and of course it is part of the Roland Fantom workstation synthesizer, their flagship workstation synthesizer. I think this is on my dream list now. I know I have a few. God, synthesizers would make you poor, wouldn't they? But this is like, if you had this, is sort of like the in bit. Like, you got pretty much everything you need is in this synthesizer. And if you like those classic Roland sounds, you can get all of those. SH101, the Jupiter A, all of those sounds are already in this. Those expansions can either be purchased, but I think when you get this, you get like 8 expansions anyway, which include that. Just a little bit more on the Enzyme here. So oscillate widely, wavetable oscillation from the core of Enzyme's unique sound rather than the classic shapes we all know and love. Wavetable oscillators employ multiple waveforms and can jump or morph between them for everything from dramatic shifts to slowly evolving textures, with the ability to mix 2 layers with 63 wavetables each and adjust their positions in real time. You've never had more immediate control over your sound design. And then you can physically shape using the touchscreen. You can customize Enzyme's oscillators by drawing your own waveform shapes right on Fantom's touchscreen, render aggressive jagged waves for bold and edgy sounds, or soften things up by removing the rough edges with the smoothing function. And if you're looking here on the YouTubes, you can see modulation madness. There's all these different shapes of different modulation. I'll zoom it in a bit there. You can have a look. It's crazy. You got star shapes. You got even like a W. You got everything here. So create striking tonal statements, softly moving soundscapes, or anything in between by modulating the shape and phase of Enzyme's waveforms. Use the touchscreen to control the XY pad or automate movement using any of the 30 onboard shapes, complete with tempo sync control over speed, intensity, and more. And it's got 8 great filters on board. The advanced oscillators and Enzymes work great with the warm character of a classic resonant filter. You can freely mix Enzyme's futuristic oscillators with Fantom's 8 output onboard filter types, including detailed models of vintage design. And you got dual LFOs. Basically, the things going at once modulate Enzyme's powerful sound shaping parameters with the 2 onboard step LFOs, each with 16 tempo sync steps and 37 different shapes per step. And with the step kick switch, you can add percussive attack to generate deeply rhythmic sounds and phrases. And you got heaps of effects. Anyway, you get the idea. This obviously connects up with your computer as well, using the Roland Cloud. Stack, mix, and mangle with Fantom's massive DSP power. You can layer multiple Enzymes for ultra deep tones with sophisticated movement, or mix Enzyme with classic Roland synthesizers, acoustic instruments, and vocoders to craft sounds never heard before. Boom. So you can mix your previous expansions or the expansions that you have, like for example, let's say SH101 or the Juno 106 with the new Enzyme expansion. Very cool indeed. We love covering the Roland news here. Roland, if you want to reach out to Emlyn in the Mix, you want to maybe send me one of these, I can show it off for you guys. That would be great. All right. It is on the wish list though. I do like this synthesizer a lot. It really appeals to me. It ticks all the boxes. All right, let's get to our last and exciting piece of news. And actually, I do have a screenshot here. We'll pull that up here. And it is that Emvoice, which we've covered on the channel before, and I've done YouTube videos on it before. You should check those out if you haven't already. Have just released a new voice. Now, what is Emvoice, you ask? Well, it is an artificial intelligence voice singer for your music. Yes, that's right. We are living in the future. 2022, it is the future. Maybe it's not, though. If you're listening in 2024 or you're listening in 2030 right now, you're listening to this podcast, you're like, nah, man, 2022, that's not the future. That's the past. I don't want to hear about your 2022. Anyway, we now have a new voice from Emvoice, however you want to say, and it is Thomas. And this is coming to us from Emvoice, of course. So they've just launched their biggest update yet. Their vocal engine just got a huge upgrade, and each voice in the Emvoice One plugin now comes equipped with some key new features such as true tone format shifting, pitch contour, presets, alternate takes, and total of 10 presets per voice. The update is free for all users. Click the link below to head to the website and then download Emvoice 1 to install. So this is a free update for existing users. Now meet our third voice, Thomas. So this is coming from Emvoice. Inspired by the ever-expanding world of electronic dance music, Thomas captures the unmistakable classic vocoder sound that defines a generation. And the only difference is that it's way more convenient to use. No equipment, no vocal performance skills, no mixing wizardry necessary. And I can't wait to hear what you're going to make with Thomas. Now, they really don't give you much. I had to screenshot that off the email. If we jump over to the website here, Real Vocals in your door. Again, if you want to learn more about this particular plugin, I did a really good video on this. Check out my video on Emlyn in the Mix from Emvoice. I've covered both voices now, Lucy and Jay, and now we've got the third voice, Thomas, and I will cover Thomas on the YouTube channel as well. If you haven't subscribed to Emlyn in the Mix, shame on you. Shame. Oh no, that's okay if you haven't subscribed or not, but you know, all that YouTube crap, you can do that, like, share, you know, do what you have to do with that. But let's just check out Thomas. This is Thomas, who's a classic vocoder. Let's have a quick listen here, and we'll listen to one of his tracks. Oh yeah. Thomas, are you ready to make better music, stronger vocals? Daft Punk, eat your heart out. It's pretty damn good. Let's have a listen quick. I'm not going to play the whole track, but this is a track demo here on the website. Let's have a quick listen to this. I'll go into it a bit. Sounds mad. Nice, very nice demo indeed. You get the idea. That is the sound you're going to get if you love Daft Punk or you love that vocodery sound. It sounds like you're going to get it here with Thomas from Emvoice. And they mentioned there that they have 10 presets per voice. Sounds like a pretty hefty update. Now, I don't know if you're an existing user of Emvoice. I don't know whether it doesn't look like you get this for free, but I'm not entirely sure. The Emvoice website doesn't really explain very much. Emvoiceapp.com doesn't really explain that much. It just has the individual prices per voice here. I'm assuming that you have to pay extra for Thomas, but I could be totally wrong. Anyway, check out Emvoice Emvoice. And again, if you haven't checked out the video that I did on Emlyn in the Mix, checking out Lucy and Jay, you should definitely check that out. I actually played with the keys here in a door in Ableton, and we made a track, and it was really cool. And it's the future. In my mind, this AI singing, this is very futuristic. And I love it. I think it sounds great. And I love that vocoder. We'll definitely be playing with that. So make sure to head over to Emlyn in the Mix on YouTube. If you haven't already, hit subscribe over there and you'll get the latest in music technology and audio views. And you'll get me not rambling as much because that's not the podcast. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We'll be back next week with more exciting news. And I love doing this podcast for you guys. Feel free to leave me some feedback in the podcasting app. Very simple. If you're listening to this, for example, if you're listening on the podcast app on iTunes, you can scroll down to the bottom and hit leave a review. 3 stars, 1 star, whatever you felt it deserved. 5 stars, you know it deserves 5 stars. And if you want to shout me a coffee, because that's what keeps me fairly hyperactive during this podcast and keeps me able to deliver this information for you at the hyperactive speed that I do. I hope you enjoy that, by the way. No, I don't know. I'm not hyperactive, but I just love my coffee in the morning. You can shout me a coffee, yes. And you'll get a shout out. I'll give you a shout out for shouting me a coffee. How does that sound? All funds that are raised in the Shout Me a Coffee actually just go straight back to this podcast. Keep this podcast going, of course. Not that I can keep the podcast going on my own, but it's like an incentive. It makes me feel like, okay, cool, I'm doing something good in this world. I know we're on the right path. And I know that the regular listeners, you guys that love this podcast, you appreciate what I do. And even just by listening to this and watching the YouTube video, you are supporting me. So if you can't make the support of the coffee, that is totally fine. I totally understand. Just watching and listening to this podcast actually supports me. So thank you so freaking much. Love you guys so much. Anyway, with that, I'm out. Peace out. Boom.